Today, I'm going to show you how God can completely transform your love life, even if all seems lost. Maybe you're living it right now, a relationship that was once beautiful, but today seems stuck in a cycle of fights, silence, and frustration. Or maybe you're alone, tired of trying and always ending up hurt. And then comes that question that no one has the courage to ask out loud. Is the problem me? But what if the problem isn't you or the other person? What if the problem is who is or isn't at the center of the relationship? The truth is that many couples get together out of impulse, need, attraction, but almost never out of purpose. Few stop to ask, is this relationship approved by God? It's hard to say, but necessary. Without God as its foundation, any relationship is bound to fall apart sooner or later. Because without Him, love is based on emotions, and emotions change. One day it's affection, the next it's distance. One day it's promise, the next it's doubt. Relationships aren't just about chemistry. It's an alliance, and a covenant can only be sustained with an eternal foundation. God created relationships to reflect His love, constant, faithful, sacrificial. But when we try to live out that love without the source, everything falls apart. And here come the symptoms. Uncontrolled jealousy, fights that start over nothing, lack of respect, all feeling empty, even when you're together, and you try to fix it with advice from the internet, with more patience, with couples therapy, but you keep ignoring the most essential thing, putting God at the center. Without this, everything becomes a burden, everything becomes burden, everything becomes wear and tear. But here's the good news. It doesn't matter how it started, God can change the ending. Even if you're hanging by a thread, even if only one of you still wants to try, even if the other doesn't believe anymore, God can still restore what you think is lost. And in the next act, I'm going to show you exactly how He does it. Do you want to know what really changes a relationship? I'll show you what to do now, in practice. It's not therapy. It's not flowers. It's not empty promises. It's the presence of God. When God comes in, He doesn't make superficial adjustments. He transforms at the root. He takes what was broken and rebuilds it better than it was before. But this starts inside, not outside. God works in the invisible, in the heart. And that's where the real problem lies for most couples. Have you ever noticed how little things become big storms? A crossed word turns into a war. A look becomes an accusation. A silence turns into distance. But what's behind it all is the ego, and the ego doesn't know how to love. That's why, without God, love becomes an exchange. I'll treat you well if you do the same. I'll forgive you if you change. But with God, love becomes a reflection of Him. And then the miracle happens. Placebo becomes forgiveness. Jealousy becomes trust. Pride becomes humility. Fear becomes security. And all this isn't just pretty church theory. It's the reality of someone who really lives. 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient, kind. It does not envy. It is not proud. It does not abuse. It does not seek its own interests. It is this love that sustains, that heals. It gives new life to something that seemed dead. But beware, God doesn't force you into a relationship. He only changes when He is invited. Do you want change? Invite Him to be the center, not the supporting actor. And that starts with simple but powerful attitudes. Praying together, reading the Word together, making decisions based on His will, not on emotion. It doesn't sound like much, but that's what changes everything. Not because it's magic, but because when you align with heaven, heaven aligns with you. And maybe you're thinking, but my partner doesn't believe me. The good news, God can start with you. Even if only one of you decides to take a stand, the atmosphere changes, the house changes, the other person changes. Because where there is light, darkness does not remain. I'm going to show you what to do now, in practice, to start this transformation today. Now that you've understood what's missing in your relationship, here comes the most important part. What should you do now? You don't have to wait for everything to fall apart before you start rebuilding. You don't have to wait for the other person to change or for a miracle to fall from the sky. You can be the turning point today. And the first thing that needs to happen is simple but powerful. Put God at the center. Really, Stop treating faith as a detail, as something separate from the relationship. Because if God isn't the center, the ego will be, and the ego charges, manipulates, hurts. But when God is at the center, He rules. And where He rules, there is peace. So here are 3 practical steps to start now. 1. Pray together, even for 1 minute. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be sincere. Prayer creates spiritual intimacy, and this protects the relationship from invisible attacks. 2. Read the Word, even if it's just 1 verse a day. Start with 1 Corinthians 13. Read it out loud. Reflect. This realigns the heart with what is eternal. 3. Boldly ask yourself this question. Does our relationship glorify God? If the answer is no, it's time for a change. Not to give up, but to surrender. To let Him cleanse, heal, redirect. Maybe you're listening to this and thinking, but it's too late. My partner won't even go for this. I've tried everything, but listen to this carefully. You haven't tried it with God at the center, and that makes all the difference. The Bible is full of stories that started badly and ended up as testimonies. Because when God steps in, the impossible becomes real. So however far away you are today, however many wounds you have accumulated, however many doubts there are, God can still write a new chapter. But He's waiting for you to take the first step. If this spoke to you, share this video with someone who is going through a difficult time in their relationship. You could be someone's answer to prayer. And subscribe to the channel, because here you'll find messages that unite faith and real life with truths that transform. God wants to bless your relationship, but it only happens when you let Him guide you